Hey guys, I'm Dan. I've been told by a few people that I should start making some videos of all the places and events I check out. And really, over the last 5, 10 years, I really have been to a lot of different cool sporting venues and environments, and a lot of big games. I went to the Frozen Four. I've been to the NCAA lacrosse championships. Went to Mets Dodgers this past year in the playoff run, and a lot of other cool events. Another or the next big sports event I'm going to is the Final Four out in San Antonio. Last year I was in Phoenix, and I knew I was going to be in Phoenix a couple times, pretty close to each other. So I skipped out on that. San Antonio I've never been to, so I'm looking forward to going in about a month and a half or so. For the conclusion of the college basketball season, I'm expecting probably Auburn or Duke or both of them to be there. Um, but I'm really looking forward to that. But of I guess the multiple sports uh, passions I have, none is bigger than college basketball for me. And I'm trying to eventually get my site completely up to date, but you can follow me at danscollegebasketballjourney.com, where I'm chronicling and writing notes and different happenings at the games I've been going to on that website. This is why I wrote way back in 2008 when I decided that I want to try to see a men's Division One college game for basketball at every Division One school. With the college basketball season a mere week away, I have recently decided to embark on a lifelong journey a basketball fan could only dream of. Seeing a basketball game at all 340, now 364 Division One schools. And by the time my trip is complete, probably well over 400, and it's certainly getting there. Sure, this is overambitious, and I may not be able to get to them all, but come hell or high water, I will try. In life, everyone has to have a passion, otherwise, there wouldn't be a point of living, and we would live in a very homogenous society. I love basketball and traveling, and I think it would be a very interesting experience to travel the country to see the regional and cultural differences among the people and places of the United States, as well as having the opportunity to see future NBA players, see some historical sites, try regional food, and meet people with a background that's considerably different than myself. It should be a fun adventure and a trip which will take me to parts of the country I never thought I'd see. People might ask, why college basketball as opposed to the NFL, NBA, MLB? Although I'm getting pretty close with MLB, I'm at 25 out of the 30 teams, in which I wanted to see all the arenas and teams, and there's three reasons for it. One, it's probably the most challenging feat for a sports fan to accomplish, and it's one that I embrace with open arms. Two, the other major sports leagues all miss major locations, which I feel helps define the regional identities, while some others are college towns. For example, and I was just there, last winter, Baton Rouge, a place like that, or Palo Alto, California, or Ann Arbor, Michigan. How do the college teams there shape that area's identity? Heck, I was over Memorial Day, I was in Traverse City, and there's so many Michigan fans up that way, and Traverse City is not that close to Ann Arbor. It's a couple hours away, and you almost feel like people are more into the colleges there than the Detroit Tigers, Detroit Lions, whoever. Um, so I'm really interested how the college teams there shape that area's identity. And three, I think some of the great stories of all time are rooted in college basketball. I said this at the time, which was 17 years ago. Within the last 5 years alone, a 12 seed has made the Final Four, and a school with less than 2,000 students came within 2 points of defeating the future national championship in the Elite Eight. Um, and that's obviously Steph Curry. Steph Curry back in 2007 was not the player he is in 2025, and he's considered now one of the top 10 players probably in the history of basketball. So, looking at my notes from like 18 years ago and seeing my commentary there and like seeing how it's turned out is pretty cool. And a player like Curry has meant a lot more than just Davidson. He's meant a hell of a lot to the Warriors, and they're four-time NBA champions. Um, And then, more recently, the one that I really it's one of my favorite sporting events I think I've ever been to. The Purdue St. Peter's Sweet 16 game at Philadelphia a couple years ago. It was such a tremendous moment. There was pictures going around that tournament of St. Peter's gym comparing it to Kentucky and how much money goes through Kentucky and seeing how small St. Peter's gym is. But then to go to Philadelphia with so many St. Peter's of frigging New Jersey in Jersey City, in Little Jersey City, or Big Jersey City, but it's Little St. Peter's, playing a team like Purdue with Zach Edey, who's an NBA draft pick, and then Jaden Ivey, who's an NBA lottery pick, and seeing them take down Purdue. That was such a cool, phenomenal moment for the state of New Jersey. Seeing Princeton beat Arizona a couple years ago was awesome. So at the time, that was 15 years ago. You didn't realize, and then of course Fairleigh Dickinson a couple years ago beating Purdue too. There's just so many great moments just in the last 4 or 5 years where just New Jersey is completely balled out, and like that was an afterthought when I was writing this 15 years ago. The NCAA tournament and the World Cup knockout stage are by far, to me, the two best postseason tournaments in the world, and I think the NCAA tournament is one of the best around. Um, yeah, I think the NBA really, with all this bracket nonsense, the play-in tournament, the in-season tournament, I think they're trying desperately to be like college basketball ultimately, and I don't think it quite gets there, especially the in-season tournament. Um, but I think in large part the single elimination adds to the appeal to it. Same thing, with the soccer when I think Morocco beat Spain. The one game element adds a chance for something like that to happen, which series in the NBA generally doesn't do. Um, and like I was alluding to before, it is a chance for little guys to upstage national powerhouses, which is why so many people get into March Madness, and it's why ultimately the tournament endures. And you know, I know they're talking about the expansion to 72 or 76 teams, and it's fine for, I guess, more like SEC or Big 12 teams to make it, but they can't lose sight that the first couple rounds with the St. Peter's of the world, Gonzaga when they were first coming up, that is what makes the tournament what it is. NFL is a little better with this, but particularly baseball, especially all this stuff with the Dodgers contracts with Otani. Baseball, it seems like it's the same teams every year. Dodgers, Yankees, Astros, et cetera, et cetera. Um, yeah, it just seems like these same teams always make the playoffs. College basketball, anything can happen, and all it takes is one moment to make a play that young athletes will remember for the rest of their life. And as it goes with many tournament games of the past, a lot of the time these guys who step up and make these game winning shots are not future NBA players, but simply young college kids who work hard for 4 years straight, and it eventually pays off for some of these guys. Obviously, since I wrote this, NIL has obviously changed it. But still for the small time leagues, there still feels like there is an element of purity to it. Um, like St. Peter's was pretty anonymous the year they made their run. A few years back, like when Florida Gulf Coast made their run, there's still a lot of still pretty low key teams. Um, when UMBC did it, I saw them play Vermont the year before, and they almost beat an undefeated Vermont in conference play team. So UMBC, you could tell was kind of turning a corner. Um, but yeah, these guys aren't making big cities proud like professional athletes, but their college communities and their hometowns, both of which can be pretty small sometimes. I find it very interesting where college athletes' lives lead if they don't. make it to the pros, which is an additional reason why I'm writing on college basketball. I've had the opportunity to see several high school players, as I am only a couple years removed from high school at this point, and a good amount of players I saw a couple years ago are now playing in college and have a decent shot to make the NBA because of the span in which my work takes place. It'll be interesting to see how these guys' careers play out, and there may be a chance that guys I mentioned earlier on in writing resurface later or become big names in the history of college basketball and or the NBA. Um, so that's where we are. And that's why college basketball. To me, basketball is one of the best games there is. There's a large team element involved, and you can win games in a lot of different ways. Um, you know, there's more to basketball than just scoring. To me, like guys like Anthony Davis, they don't need to necessarily score a ton to impact the game, and guys like that, I think, have really changed the game into realizing that you don't need to score everything to really make an impact on a stat sheet. And I hope you guys enjoy following me on my journey and hopefully learning some things about basketball, the history of college sports and college basketball, and as well as checking out some cool, sites across the country and doing this. I'm about a quarter of the way through this. This weekend hitting up 89, 90, and 91 of what would be 366. There's 364, but including Hartford and St. Francis. Hartford is no longer Division One school, and St. Francis dropped athletics a couple of years ago. So altogether, by the end of the weekend, it'll be 91 of 366. Checking out Norfolk State Monday, East Carolina Sunday, and a big time matchup in the Atlantic 10 tomorrow with 1 versus 2, George Mason against VCU. And, 18 years is a long time to start recording the video, but it's never too late to start. And, we got, still 270 schools to check out. So I hope you guys enjoy the ride with me.